Sometimes when you read about men that were cheated on by their partners, you can't help but ask, how does he feel? What did he do? I just know that he is going to end that marriage and find someone better. Most times the men do deserve someone better, but there's just one problem. Can they fully recover from being cheated on? Will they ever be able to trust anyone again? I recently discovered that my wife of 6 years had been cheating on me for 3 years with a random guy she met at our wedding, and I honestly don't know how I feel or what to do. I am stuck between peacefully filing for a divorce and being on the 9 p.m. news for something I might do. As I write this, I am at a wedding, sitting on the bed while a bag of clothes is placed in front of me. I honestly can't still grasp the situation or how I had been so blinded by the love I had for my war that I didn't notice sooner. I need to tell someone what happened, or else I might potentially lose my mind. My name is Greg Okoro, and I am a dark-skinned 42-year-old, 5'11" male with married to Clara Aide, a light-skinned 36-year-old 5'3" female. Clara and I met at the shopping mall. We both stood at the checkout line when a man came from nowhere and stood of Clara. Being annoyed at his behavior, Clara tapped on his back in order to get his attention before asking him to move to the back of the line because there were people who were there for her. Now, as I had stated before, Clara is 5'3", and this guy stood at least 6 ft tall and looked down at her before responding rudely that she should mind her business and allow him to pay for his groceries. Clara didn't stop, but again asked him to move to the back of the queue, and this really annoyed him because he soon threw his basket of groceries on the floor and was now looking at Clara, the way a lion looks at another lion who enters his territory. But Clara didn't budge, but I knew that if I didn't do anything, things would get out of hand. I ran out of my spot and rushed to where they stood, took Clara's hand and said, "Honey, let's go." They said that Mom is in the hospital, which is a lie, obviously, before dragging her to the counter where the cashier quickly checked out our things. Before leaving, I hurriedly apologized to the man before dragging a shocked Clara behind me. After we had left the mall, she seemed to snap out her shock and asked me who the hell I thought I was. I calmly explained that if I didn't intervene when I did, the guy would have done something to her, and I reminded her that we lived in a country where our safety is not guaranteed by the police. She seemed to calm down after this and thanked me. We exchanged contacts before I walked her to her car and watched her drive off before getting into mine. That singular encounter changed my life forever. Clara and I started texting, meeting for innocent lunch and dinner dates before I asked her to be my girlfriend. She accepted, and it was heaven on earth. I would always wake up to calls from her, surprise visits at house, home-cooked meals, more dates. But we never got too intimate. Clara came from a Catholic family, and they don't take kindly to such things. Her parents are Yoruba and also very traditional, so simple things like lying on the floor to greet them matter a lot. After dating for 3 years, I popped the question and she said yes. I was beyond happy because I have finally found my better half, my missing rib. Cheesy, I know. The wedding was beautiful, and finally it was time to go home and start the rest of our lives. We waited a year before we started trying for kids. The reason for this was because we both agreed that we wanted to have that period all to ourselves and build our careers before we can bring a child into the picture. On the 2nd anniversary of our marriage, Clara surprised me with a positive pregnancy test result, and to say that I was happy was a big lie. I was more than happy, and why wouldn't I be? I was married to the perfect woman, and she was about to give me the perfect child. I always assumed we're happy. I worked hard as an accountant at Advise LLP, CPA firm at 6230 Wilshire BLVD Suite, Real 192, Los Angeles, CA 9048, United States provide for our comfortable life at LA. I trusted Clara completely and never suspected that anything was wrong. I mean, what could possibly go wrong? Now 5 years and 2 kids later, I start noticing some changes. Clara stopped sending me good morning texts. Yes, I know what you're thinking, but even after we got married, she still kept the habit of always sending me good morning texts whenever she woke up. She always got up before I did to take care of the kids and get breakfast ready, but always found time to send me the cutest texts that would leave me smiling and giggling to myself all day. It was always something short and cute, like, if you were a vegetable, you'd be a cucumber, or are you Netflix? Because I could watch you for hours. But all of a sudden, the messages stopped coming. When it first happened, I just brushed it off and assumed that she had a pretty hectic day and must have forgotten. But when 2 weeks had gone back without any good morning texts, I knew that Clara had changed. It was as though she had stopped caring about me and our marriage. The only time I would see her brighten up would be when she's with our kids, but whenever we would be alone, she would be so stiff and uptight with me that every conversation with her feel like a conversation between my boss and I. I thought I had done something wrong and even went as far as apologizing and treating her to a fancy dinner. But even after all that, she still remained the same. She had started keeping late nights, claiming she had to work overtime or meet with friends. She became so distant and cold that she started avoiding my affection and attention. I have never questioned my wife and her work. Neither have I ever imagined her of doing anything to hurt me, so I always went with her excuses. We had to get maid to help take care of the kids while we were at work, but I made sure to always coming back before they went to bed. I always assured them that their mother loved them because my eldest daughter kept asking why her mother was hardly at home and if they had done something to upset their mother. Hearing this from a 4-year-old girl broke my heart, so I told her that her mother just had a lot of work to do and also reassured them that their mother loved them so much. Each time I tell Clara what the kids say, she promises to change, which she does, but only for a day or two. Now I am a very calm and quiet guy, but for some reason, I was slowly getting agitated by what was going on, but I never for once questioned my wife's faithfulness to me. I always blamed her work or something else for her behavior. I never stopped being a loving and devoted husband who secretly prayed that things go back to the way they were. If someone had told me what the following year would bring and how it would affect me, I would have cussed the person out. The following year started off different. Clara was back to normal and even better than before. She was always smiling and laughing each time I saw her. The good morning texts started coming again, and she even added some happy endings at the end of the day for me, and I couldn't believe how lucky I was. I was also happy to see her spend more time with the children, and she even started coming back from work early. It was truly amazing because at that moment I felt like nothing could ever go wrong with life. One thing that she also started doing the year was going to the gym at night with her friends from work. She went every Sunday and would return to the house some minutes past 8. But she was always in a cheerful mood when she returned, so I didn't question the odd hours. It suddenly changed from every Sunday to Saturdays and Sundays. I didn't mind because her attitude didn't change towards the kids and I, so I turned a blind eye to it. After 6 months of going to night gym, there was no visible change in her body. She was still the same and even added a few pounds. Not that I am complaining about that, though. One day, I jokingly told her that I would love to join her in her gym sessions, and she immediately tensed up and got all defensive. She said, and I quote, "You don't need to go to the gym with me. It's mostly just ladies working out and talking about their husbands." Upon saying this, it dawned on me that she had never told me the name of her gym or where it was located, so I asked her. She looked at me for some time before she said she needed to use the restroom. My fellow Redditors, the next time I asked about the name and location of the gym, she came prepared with even pictures of herself outside and inside the gym. The gym was Hybrid Gym, LA. After that, I left it alone, but I was still curious as to why she reacted the way she did the first time I asked her about it. It was our wedding anniversary, and I planned to surprise her. I wanted to pay some people to follow me to the gym holding a cake, a money bouquet, and money cake, as well as a saxophony player that was going to play her favorite song for her. I called her sister to help me plan the surprise as well, follow me there to capture the beautiful moment. Around 5 p.m., everyone was ready and we drove to the gym in my car. Luckily, there was no traffic that day, so we only spent 30 minutes on the road. When we got there, everyone got into place. My sister-in-law started recording on her phone. I held the money bouquet. My Love by Westlife was playing on the saxophone, while those carrying the money cakes were at the back. I couldn't wait to see her face. Upon entering the building, we were met with many shocked and surprised faces, but none of them belonged to Clara. Thinking she might have gone to the restroom, I approached the receptionist and asked her if my wife had arrived. She asked for my wife's name, but after checking her records, she informed me that nobody by that name had registered there. I was confused because my wife had been going there for months, or did I get the name wrong? I asked her sister to call her and ask her where she was, but specifically told her not to inform my wife of my presence. She left to make the phone call while I went back to the car with others. After 5 minutes, she came back with a strange look on her face And when I asked her what happened, she told me that Clara had told her that she was at the Freehand, LA, which was located at 416 W 8th St. Los Angeles, CA 914, United States. I just assumed that it was a work thing, or maybe her friends had lodged her to celebrate her anniversary with her. It's stupid, I know, but I always made excuses for her. I asked if she got the room number from Clara, to which she nodded, and we were off. Now, I am going to be frank with you guys. Nothing, and I mean nothing, could have prepared me for what happened. In all my years of existence, I have never had the privilege of wishing that the earth would open up and swallow me, never to spit me back ever again. Thinking about it now makes me physically nauseous and stupid at the same time. How could I not see the signs? Why did I keep making up excuses for her? Why didn't I just confront her? No matter how many times I ask myself these questions, I never get a response. If I had done something earlier, maybe it won't hurt as much as it did now, or maybe I would have left before it was too late. I would still be sane and happy. But no, I chose to be the loving clown who trusted the enemy to take a bullet for me. When we got to the hotel, I told the receptionist about my plan to surprise Clara, and even told her that we already knew the room number. She agreed not to call Clara's room, and we went up. Again, like before, we got into position, phone recording, saxophone playing, money cakes, and money bouquet ready. I took a huge breath before knocking on the door. The door opened, and before me stood my wife in a towel with her hair wet. The moment she saw me, she froze, and I was about to speak when a voice spoke behind her. "If that's room service, ask them to get us new sheets. We got carried away and messed up this one," the voice said. I recognized that voice, but I couldn't place it. Clara still stood there, not saying a word to me or moving. Before I could say a word, someone stood behind her in nothing but shorts. The moment he saw me, his eyes grew wide and his mouth fell open. It was John. For some backstory, John was my stepbrother. Same father, different mother, but you would never know because we did everything together. The day I met Clara, I told him. The day she agreed to go out with me, I told him. The day she agreed to be my wife, he was there. He was my best man at my wedding, for crying out loud. I even complained to him when Clara was acting up, and he told me she'd come around. He even had the nerve to suggest that he might be cheating on me with someone else, but I guess he was the someone else. The thing was, I loved John so much that I was ready to give a kidney and a lung if he wanted me to, and I always thought the feeling was mutual, but joke's on me. Haha. I stood there speechless. Clara's sister had been able to snap out of her shock and asked others to follow her down to the car while I still stood there. I looked down at the floor for what felt like an eternity before I opened my mouth. "How long?" They both kept quiet. "How long has this been going on?" I shouted, which caused them both to flinch. They had never seen or even heard me raise my voice, so the shouting caught them off guard. Clara opened her mouth, but no words came out. Then John spoke up. "A year after Amanda was born." My head shot up and I looked at them. "What?" I managed to mutter. Clara was going through some hard times. We met, had a couple drinks. One thing led to the other, and we spent the night together. I wanted to stop, but before John could say another word, I punched him across the face. Clara tried to talk to me, but in a fit of rage, I slapped her right across her face. "What do you want to tell me, huh? You're sorry? Or that you were lonely? Or maybe I was never around? No, tell me the excuse you want to give for sleeping with my stepbrother for 3 years while you gave me hell at home for 2 years and some months. You'd come home with an attitude, refuse to spend time with the kids. Your kids hate and nag at every single thing I do, but what do? I still love you. I make excuses for you to your kids. I make excuses for you to myself. I even complain to him." I point to John, who's holding his jaw. "But what do I get?" As I said this, I could feel the tears leaving my eyes, but I couldn't be bothered to clean them. Before either of them could say another word, I went back to the car, dropped off my sister-in-law and others, drove home, packed my things as well as my children's clothes, and took them to stay with my godmother. I just told her to look after them and that I would be back to pick them in a few days, but on no account should she allow Clara to take them. I promised to explain everything to her when I got the chance to. After I dropped them off, I went back to my house, got the gun I secretly bought as a bachelor, and checked into a small hotel. This is my story so far. Clara has called and texted me countless times, but I haven't said Q word. It's been 3 days since this incident, and I haven't moved from the bed since then. I haven't eaten or drank anything. Neither have I gotten up to take a shower. My head is still fuzzy about everything. Most times I think to myself, what if Emeka was not truly my son? What if John was responsible for the pregnancy? Each time I get these thoughts, I shake it off with the response that I was there when Emeka came into this world, and that I'll always see and love him as my son. Update. It has always baffled me how someone could sleep peacefully after doing something so evil that the mere mention of it would cause chills. I'm still at the motel, and it's been 3 months since I got here, and a lot has happened since then. It's been a bumpy ride, and I honestly still can't say how I feel about the whole thing. For those of you who might be confused, or maybe this is your first time coming across my story, hi, my name is Greg, and I am in the middle of a messy situation. Now, for some context, I detailed what I was going through in my previous post, but I'll still do a quick recap. I had been married to the love of my life for 6 years, but recently find out that she had been cheating on me for 3 years, and you will never believe who she chose to sleep with. My stepbrother. I know it sounds hard to believe, and honestly, after all the while, I still find it hard to believe that was able to find myself in this kind of situation. This is the kind of stuff that you read about on the news or maybe watch on those YouTube channels, but here I am, actually going through it in reality. Now, my wife had been trying to reach me and my kids, but when she found out that she couldn't, she took a different approach. As I think about it now, I've just realized that she isn't the same woman I dated and fell in love with. Was she just hiding her true colors? Or were they always there and I was just too stupid to see them? Anyway, back to what she did that left a scar on my heart. I got a call from my dad one day asking me to come over. Now, my dad is Nigerian and grew up there before relocating to the United States of America, and, well, let's just say that we, my siblings and I, were brought up Nigerian style, and whenever we were summoned, it always meant one of us had done something and was going to be scolded at. After I got the call, I sat on the bed and thought long and hard as to what might have caused my father to summon me. No matter how hard I thought, I couldn't think of anything, so I just accepted that I would only know if I visit him. The next day, I got up early and got ready for my visit to my father. He lived it, so it took some time for me to get there, but when I eventually did, I remembered why I hardly visited. Everyone was smiling and welcomed me wholeheartedly while my dad just stood there. I walked up to him with my hand extended for a handshake. But that was not what I got. The moment I got close enough to him, he drew him closer to him, hugged me, let go of me, and then slapped me across the face. Yes, I know it sounds strange, but it happened so fast that I couldn't process anything. Why are you such a disappointment? It's hard enough that you didn't turn out like your siblings, but you also cheat on your wife? I was so stunned I couldn't react. I stood there, hand on my cheek, looking at my father, who was looking at me with a look on his face I had never seen before. He slapped me. My father had never raised his hands to hit us, so where was this coming from? What? I managed to blurt out after some seconds. He repeated his words, but this time he said it calmly, and after saying it, he sat down and looked at me, waiting for my response. Who said I cheated on her? I asked, while still looking at my father with my hand still on my cheek. My father took a deep breath, looked at me from my head down to my toes before speaking. Listen, marriage has its ups and downs, and even though you had never done things the right way, I never expected you to be one accused of cheating on his partner, he said while looking at me dead in the eyes. I finally let go of my cheek and tried to defend myself, but when I tried to mutter words, he asked me to leave. Yes, he asked me to leave his house and to add a cherry on top of the icing. He said that I had to call my wife, apologize to her, beg her to take me back, or I would be disowned by my family. I would be disowned. I would be disowned by my father for something I didn't do. The moment I reached my motel, I fell on my bed and started laughing. I laughed so much my tummy began to hurt, and before I knew it, I fell asleep. The next day, I decided to go and visit my kids at my mother's place. When I got there, they were so happy to see me, and as usual, asked when their mom was going to return from her trip. I had told them that she had traveled for a work trip, and since I had changed my children from their old school, I didn't have to worry about Clara going to look for them there. You see, my mom and my father had divorced and were living separately. They separated 2 years after Clara and I got married, but I never told Clara where she lives, and I'm thankful for that now. After spending time with my kids, I sat down with my mom and told her what happened between her husband and I. She was surprised that I wasn't given a listening ear and was threatened in such a way. Mom knew everything that had happened between Clara and I, so she was able to judge the situation fairly. She asked me to file for a divorce and fight for custody of my kid, but I reminded her that doing that would cause my father to get involved, and since he believes I'm the one at fault, he would hire the best lawyer money can afford and take my kids from me. I stayed till 7 p.m. before I went back to the motel. Once I got there, an idea popped up in my head and I called my sister-in-law to talk to her. We had been keeping in touch all this while she even told me that Clara had brought John home and fabricated a lie to their parents, which won them over. She also told me that Clara seemed different, but I told her that I didn't call her to talk about her sister and that I needed something from her. I told her what I needed and she agreed. The next day, I got the nerve to visit my house in Clara. When I got there, everything looked the same, but it felt different. I knocked on the door and Clara opened the door. She was shocked to see me, but she immediately removed the look of shock from her face and invited me in. I sat down and she offered me something to drink, but I declined. After what felt like hours, I cleared my throat and spoke up. "How are you, Clara?" Saying her name while looking at her sent tears to my eyes, but I had to bite my tongue to prevent myself from breaking down. "I'm fine. How have you been? You look pale. Have you been eating well?" She asked me with a hint of concern in her tone. I didn't respond immediately because what exactly was I to say? I was fine? Of course not, but I wasn't about to let her see that. "I'm all right, Clara. I've just been busy with work. Look, the reason I came back was because..." I stopped talking, looked her in the eye, then fell on my knees. "Please forgive me. I'm sorry for everything that happened. I'm sorry for not being a better husband, for not paying attention, for not loving you more, for failing as a husband. Clara, please forgive me." At this point, I was in tears. I was sobbing like a child while Clara sat there and looked at me helplessly. After a few minutes, she got up and knelt beside me. She wiped my tears and said that she had forgiven me, and that it was fine as long as I had realized my mistake. I had realized and asked her to let me back into her life. I also told her I had given them my blessings to be together, and she was so happy. She started doing this little dance that always made me smile. I decided to move back in with her, but as a housemate until I can find a place of my own. I also found out that they, John and Clara, were planning on getting married. John and I patched things up the following week, and honestly, everything was going so well. I brought the kids back and they were so excited to see their mom. Now I know you're going to ask me what has come over me or possibly call me the biggest simp of all time, but I don't care. Seeing Clara happy made me happy, and that was all that mattered. Everything was going great at home. Clara and John would go out and I would stay home to look after the kids. John and I quickly bonded again, and I was even made his best man. I still remember feeling like a girl who had been asked to dance. He told me about it. I helped with most of the planning and made sure everything went perfectly. Clara's parents have forgiven me for what I did to their daughter, but her sister wouldn't talk to me. She thinks I've lost my mind. What does she know? Love makes you do stupid things, and honestly, I wasn't even complaining. My father was pleased with my decision and even asked me to visit him anytime wanted. The wedding was held at Hollywood and Suites Hotel at El Segundo Boulevard Gardena, and we would have a big reception at their beautiful hall. Clara and John let me handle everything, and honestly, after doing all that for them, I felt so peaceful. I found myself wondering why I didn't do this sooner. I even found out that Clara was expecting. She told me first and made me swear not to tell John. I was so happy she trusted me enough to tell me about it. One day I saw Clara looking worried and I asked her what the problem was. "It's nothing serious, just pre-wedding jitters, I guess," she told me while looking at her nails. I took her hands, gave it a soft kiss, and assured her that she had nothing to worry about. I had taken care of everything to the very last detail, and all they had to do was to be there and be happy. She smiled, gave me a long hug, and thanked me. When she was about to pull away, we both realized that our faces were so close to each other. Without warning, she kissed me and, well, I kind of kissed her back. Now, before you hate me, remember that I still loved her, and I guess those feelings never died. She didn't pull away from the kiss, and when she did, she simply smiled and said, "Thank you," to which I smiled back and left the room. I felt so happy I almost jumped up like a child. Tomorrow was the wedding, so I had to sleep early. Life is not always beautiful, but when you have something to look forward to every day, you stop seeing the thorns and only focus on the roses. I had been so focused on the thorns that I forgot how the roses smelt, but not anymore. I was going to give life another chance, but first I had to be there for two important people in my life at the moment. Finally, the wedding day had arrived and Clara looked so stunning in her wedding dress. She wore a trumpet wedding dress with a long veil and a crown on her head, while John wore a three-piece slim fit suit with Oxford shoes. They both looked like something you'd read in a storybook, and I kid you not, I teared up when they both said their vows. The wedding ceremony was beautiful, and now it was time for the reception. After everyone had eaten and enjoyed themselves, I asked John to give me some time to give them a gift, and he agreed. You know, I just love happy endings. They always made me smile, so I wanted to give them one. Now I had installed a big screen and hired a projector because I planned to play a slideshow for them. The slideshow started with a picture of Clara as a baby, and then one of John as a child. That caused the crowd to smile and go, "Oh!" Next were videos of Clara and John in cute moments, looking at each other smiling and laughing. It was indeed a beautiful moment. Then, a video started playing. It was of me smiling into the camera. I can't wait to see her face when we go there. It's going to be priceless. I know that things have been going roughly and that work has been hectic, but I still love you, and I will always love you. I spoke into the camera before asking someone in front of me if they were ready. The next slide was a video of me in the gym with Kenzie looking around for Clara. Then it showed the gym receptionist informing us that Clara wasn't a member of the gym. Then I turned the camera to myself and spoke. Did I forget the name of the gym? I was still asking myself questions when the voice of Clara's sister was heard, telling me that she had gotten her sister on the phone, so I looked into the camera, smiled, and said, "Let's go." Now, as you can imagine, the bride looks very uncomfortable in her seat while the groom is shooting me death glares, but I just smile back and turn my head back to the video. Now we had arrived at the hotel and we saw the receptionist talking to me. Then we slowly made our way up the hotel stairs. We arrived at the door and the saxophone can be heard in the background. As I was about to knock on the door, John stood up and demanded that the slideshow be stopped, but to everyone's surprise, my father told him to keep quiet and asked me to continue. Now, when I tell you that I had the biggest smile on my face, I continued with the slideshow and showed how I discovered about Clara and John. The entire room fell silent. Everyone turned to look at the newlywed and shook their heads. My fellow Redditors, I wasn't done yet. You see, I recorded our entire conversation from that day and it was shown. The next slideshow was about Clara. She was seen with an older man and they were being intimate with each other. I paused at the moment and took the microphone. Ladies and gentlemen, how are we doing? How are we enjoying the wedding so far? Good? Okay. Now, some of you may know me as the evil ex-husband who cheated on his beautiful wife, and many of you hated me without even knowing me. I was even threatened by my own father because of her. I always wondered why, but guess what? Now I know. After I said this, I played the video, and guess what? The older man in the video was my father. Yes, my biological father. I found out about them after I made peace with Clara and John. But let's go back to the wedding. The moment my father's face appeared on the screen, I think I heard someone scream, but at that moment I didn't even care to turn back. I was too invested in how good the video had come out. The next slide was a picture, or rather more pictures of Clara and my father while an audio recording was playing. It was Clara on the phone with her friend, and she was saying how she had gotten pregnant again for my dad. She further revealed that my father was the biological father of our daughter, and that she was just going to do it all over again with John and tell him that he's the father. The final clip had me in it. It was the night Clara and I kissed, well, We may have done more than that, and every second was recorded, but before it ended, a clip of John hitting on Clara's younger sister appeared. He said that he was only getting married to her so that he could take out a life insurance on her. He further stated that after he was done with her, Clara, he would come for her, her sister. After the clip ended, a little message popped up, "Happy married life to John and Clara. I hope you find what you've been searching for in each other. Say, I hope you like this wedding gift of mine." After the screen went black, I bid everyone farewell and left the hall. I changed my phone number, took my kids, and left. Remember I said I couldn't understand how people could sleep peacefully after causing mayhem. I still can't because I've been sleeping like a baby since that day. I still have my kids with me, and I'm currently with Kenzie, Clara's sister. We're not together. Yet who knows? Something might happen later. That's all. I hope my story was able to brighten your day.